June's water crisis pushed many Calgarians to rethink how we use water and maybe how much we're wasting. A water main rupture that uncovered just how precarious Calgary's water supply is.
If we do not reduce our water use, we are at risk of running out.
That message repeated by city officials throughout the crisis. With a target threshold set of 480 million litres a day, the number where demand would have exceeded the city's treatment capacity and supply, Calgarians got to work reducing their water usage.
With the kids, no baths, quick showers.
I did some pretty strange things. I saved all my shower water and then I scooped it into a 5-gallon bucket and used that to flush my toilet.
I shower every second day and only flush the toilet when it really needed to be flushed. You get my drift?
And for the most part, it worked. Only 4 times during the crisis did people use more than 480 million litres of water a day. On 2 other occasions, they matched it. On June 30th, a record low, just 425 million litres used, far below the 600 million litres that we typically use every day. After nearly a month, Calgarians seem to be in a water-saving groove. But was that long enough to turn us into water super savers?
Probably not, unfortunately.
Joel Wilkinson is a Calgary psychologist who helps people build more effective habits. While 30 days was a good start, he says it can actually take up to 3 months to create new habits. And along with that new routine, he says there needs to be a reward. He's not so sure that helping the city maintain its water supply was enough of an incentive.
The best habits that are formed tend to have people have some type of incentive or payoff that's significant enough to them to actually continue that behavior. Habits take a lot of effort, they take a lot of work.
A consultant who helps communities manage water supply through conservation efforts says the reduction in water use wasn't a complete surprise because outdoor use was heavily restricted. He's just not so sure the overall water-saving trend will continue after all of the restrictions are lifted.
What the research says is that after the restrictions are eased, there is a rebound, but the rebound is lower than where consumption was at the outset. So it rebounds by something more like, say, 10%. In Calgary's situation, I wouldn't be surprised if it rebounds a little bit more than that because those restrictions were only in place for a month.
Overall, he says restrictions would have to be in place for months to trigger what he calls structural change, such as swapping out toilets and washing machines for more water-efficient ones. Still, during the month-long crisis, people turned to places like Green Calgary for advice on how to save water.
We really focused on giving people really practical tips and just saying like, hey, be kind to yourself. You know, like if you have to do laundry, do laundry. Like, you know, people were just sort of panicking and saying like, well, should I just not do anything? And we're saying, no, you know, the guidelines are pretty clear, but there's a lot of, you know, if you're staying away from the outdoor water use, like that's like the main use of water. I think one of the main benefits we're going to see coming out of this crisis is just that people are going to understand their water use better. They're really going to understand, you know, how much water different appliances use. I think that's something that wasn't really at the top of mind for a lot of people. They didn't really know the difference between, you know, how much water they're using in their shower, their toilet, their bathtub, those sorts of things.
And he says while some habits like cutting back on laundry, the dishes, or capturing gray water while rinsing dishes might be a tougher sell, others will stay with us.
I've heard a lot of people also talking about reducing their shower times. I think a lot of people were actually quite surprised at how that worked for them. I've heard quite a few stories from people saying like, oh, like I didn't realize, you know, I took short showers before, but I didn't realize that they were, you know, they could have been way shorter and I had no problems with it, right? So I think some of those habits will stick around.
And Calgarians seem to agree.
And yesterday I saw my daughter keeping the tap open and washing her hands too much, so I was right away, it's kind of like instinctive now that I had to tell her like, hey, close it. And she also realizes, she's 6, but even she realizes, oh, I'm so sorry, I should not be wasting water.
Maybe bathing habits, I could do that because before now I felt I've been using too much water. So I could just stick with what I've been doing for the last few weeks.
I've always been fairly conscious of water use, and it's a resource that we should value. So I think we should all use our heads when we use water.
Because it just makes sense. You know, we might not run out of water this week or next month or next year, but eventually it could be an issue.
So you're going to keep going?
Yeah, I'm going to keep having showers every 2 days. Don't come around me on day 2.
A short-term crisis that may have a long-lasting impact. Brian Labby, CBC News, Calgary.